Good evening. I'm Greg Jackson, a member of the Infrastructure Oversight Board, and this evening I'm serving as temporary chair in the absence of both our chairman and vice chairman who couldn't join us this evening. This is the meeting of August 27th, 2020, and the first order of business is the flag salute. Would someone like to lead that? Not seeing anyone. Shall we dispense with that?
Should be a board member, correct, Mr. Chairman?
Yes, that's what I suggested. Walt, you want to do it? You got.
I'm online here. Okay. Ready? All right. We pledge allegiance to the flag
Of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands,
one nation, under
God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you very much. All right. Can we have a roll call, please?
Yes, you may. Armin Avazian.
Here.
Walter Brennan Jr.
Here.
Maria Coronado is absent. Greg Jackson.
Here.
Vanessa Rochelle.
Here.
Tamala Takahashi is also absent. And Jeff Vanderboort is also absent.
All right. Our next item is announcements. Brief staff announcements related to projects, grant for a citywide motorist safety plan, I believe was the first item C. No? No one?
Good evening, members of the board. My name is Hannah Wu. I'm with the Community Development Department, Transportation Division. And at the June 25th Infrastructure Oversight Board meeting, there was a question that was raised by Chair Vanderboort and also Board Member Jackson about the status of the a grant that we applied for. So I just wanted to provide an announcement and a brief update on that. On May 4th, the city submitted an application to Caltrans for a local road safety plan. So it's really a motorist safety plan to analyze collision types and roadway types to see what types of improvements can be made to motorist safety citywide. So currently we have our application submitted, but Caltrans has limited funding available, so we won't really be able to know if additional funds become available in October or later this year. But given the economic kind of financial crisis that we're currently experiencing with COVID-19 and the reduction in sales tax revenue, that funding may be currently at risk. So we're not sure yet what the resolution will be and what the status of our grant application will be, but we should find out towards the end of October of this year if our application is approved. So just as a reminder to the board, this was a project that was identified as a priority project in the recently adopted Complete Streets Plan that Council adopted back in mid-June of this year. And it was one of the projects that was identified, so staff applied for those grant funds. If staff is unsuccessful in obtaining those grant funds from Caltrans for one reason or another, we will also continue to look for other grant funding sources to fund that plan since it was identified as a priority. So that was just an update I wanted to provide the board. Thank you.
All right. Thank you very much, Ms. Wu. I believe the second half of item C is brief board member announcements related to infrastructure projects and funding. Colleagues, do you have anything to share with us? Well, I do a little bit. I don't know if it's quite related on this, but I noticed nearly a month ago in the LA Times, there was a public announcement about notice of inviting bids for street improvement project phase X, which I assume is phase 10. And, since it's not on the agenda, I guess we can't talk about it. But I would like a timely response, what's happened. I think the period just closed a couple of weeks ago. I don't know. Have we picked anyone? Where are we going? And I seem to remember that phase 10 was supposed to be done last year. So I like some information on that, possibly at our next meeting. That's my comment. All right.
Thank you. I'm
we're
sorry,
now to
Mr.
item
Jackson.
D. Oh,
Mr.
excuse
Jackson.
me.
Due to the 3 board members that are absent tonight, we're going to be pulling item number 3, the election of the chair and vice chair, and we'll do that for next month's meeting.
All right. I think that's a wise decision.
Thank you.
All right. We're now to item D, which is public comment. Do we have any members of the public who wish to express their opinions on matters related to infrastructure? No.
We do not have any callers.
Okay. And the next item is board members' response to public comments. Well, we don't have anything to say because no one contacted us. Item F is consent calendar, which is approval of the minutes of the prior meeting, June 25th, 2020. Does anyone have any comments on the meeting minutes before we take a vote on them?
I have one correction.
Right.
That is for Joe McDougall. His title should be Chief Assistant City Attorney, and I'll be making that correction on the final copy.
All right. Could I get a motion then to approve the minutes? I think
Motion to approve.
okay, and then we have a second by Armin. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Okay, I think that's unanimous. So we shall now move on to item G, reports to the board. That first item under this is update of citywide automatic walk signals.
Hello, Mr. Chairman, members of the board. Ken Burkham, Public Works Director. Thank you for the opportunity to give you an update on the citywide automatic walk signals at the board's request. In your packet, you have received a memo regarding this topic. I'll give an overview of it here. Attached to that memo, or that report, I guess, is the memo that was sent from me and Jonathan Yee to Justin Hess, our city manager, regarding suspending investigations for certain types of traffic investigations. So, since April, a majority of the traffic signals in the city have been set to provide the walk signal without pedestrians needing to push the actual button in light of the pandemic that we've been experiencing. According to the CDC, the coronavirus on surfaces and objects naturally die within hours to days, and warmer temperatures and exposure to sunlight reduces the time that the virus survives on surfaces and objects. But nonetheless, we thought this was a good proactive thing for the city to do to help prevent the spread of the virus. Since the time the pandemic arrived in earnest, traffic volumes have decreased dramatically throughout the city. So, as I mentioned, that memo that supports this report here, staff's temporarily suspended processing community requests that require traffic counts. Those are kind of like speed humps and stop signs and things like that. When we, on the second page of the memo, when we looked at the actual speeds and times that it takes for vehicles to travel, we've seen year over year, July 2019 and July 2020, minimal changes, pretty much about the same, maybe slightly slower speeds on average, but actually just a little bit quicker of time for vehicles to get basically from point A to point B for those certain segments that are shown in the chart. So pretty much with the discussion, without much of an impact, the Traffic Management Center, traffic staff are looking at our traffic volumes every day in real time, analyzing the data week to week, and looking at when traffic volumes approach near pre-COVID levels, we'll look to return the signal operations back to normal operations and phasing and require pedestrians to actually push the button. So that concludes my report, and I'm here to answer any questions for you.
All right. Jeff, our chairman, Jeff Vandenberg, called me earlier today, and he apologized that he couldn't make tonight's meeting. He had knee surgery yesterday, and he said he tried to walk from his bedroom to his home office and made it only halfway today.
Okay.
So he had wanted this item scheduled, and one of the things he wanted to mention, he's an avid walker when his knee isn't incapacitated, and he lives down by Burroughs, and he walks all the way to DeBell. So I mean, he walks across the city, and he's noticed with the light signal situation that it's had some other benefits, that he's able to cross major arteries, Verdugo, Olive, Magnolia directions, which aren't signalized, which he would be unable to do in the past because traffic is slowed down and people, he has enough time to feel comfortable walking at intersection, not jaywalking, but walking across at an intersection that's not signalized. And so he felt that that was an issue he wanted to bring up for the city to, to consider. I think he's hoping that we will continue some form of the pedestrian signalizing that has been implemented in recent months. So that he wanted to share. Does anyone have any other comments? All right, we're a quiet group. I guess we would move on to item 3, but we're not. That's the election of the chair and the vice chair, and we'll continue that to the next meeting. We're on to item H, which is introduction of additional item agendas. Does anyone want to bring anything up? Okay, well, I do. And I have several things. One, the Prop, P, the additional sales tax that the voters supported, which is why we're all here, has been in place for pretty much a year. And I have no idea how much money we've collected, how much money we've spent. And, I would like more information on those issues on a future agenda sooner than later. So that's one thing I like to bring up. Also, and this is quite important to me, under item I, pending agenda items. The first item is project prioritization policy. It's a pending item. It was pending at our last meeting, and I looked back at our agendas, and it was pending in February and pending in January. Now, Ken, this predates your being our director, but when the board was presented with the list of capital improvement projects last year, it was in the form of a communication from your predecessor, signed by the city manager and directed to the city council. So it left us as an oversight board nowhere to go. We had no chance of having any input on what was being recommended. We continued the item for a month and gave our comments, which were all, I think, supportive of what staff was recommending. But Mr. Vanderborg and Mr. Takaguchi and I think some of my other colleagues here expressed strongly we didn't want to see this repeated, where we're essentially, a fifth wheel or rubber stamping what staff is recommending to the council. So, I want to see this item next month or whenever our next meeting is, because I think this is critical. Otherwise, we might as well just sit home and, have a beer and not try to make our, opinions, voice our opinions so that it can be transmitted to the city council. All right. Those are my two items that I like to bring up. And I guess no one else has anything to say.
If I may, Mr. Chairman.
Yes.
Thank you very much for bringing both of those up. I'd like to address them both, actually. Certainly, we could bring them both forward, and I'll tell you how right now. Right now, with the pandemic, Financial Services Department will be working on an update for council. They expect to bring that update to council in October, and with council's recommendations, bring that report to the board. So that would be, we haven't set a date in October for the council meeting. That's in finance's hands, but certainly once that report is done, and of course we'll keep the board updated at the September meeting with any specific information that we can bring finance to the board to discuss that and the Measure P revenues. So that's definitely on a front burner for us to keep the board apprised of our revenues and our overall city budget status. Good news, as I mentioned last month, I definitely see and understand that the board is an advisory panel in support of the council. We, staff, definitely consider ourselves in a partnership to work with you to develop a capital program that is prioritized and that we will bring to council together as part of the budget process. Hoon Han, our capital program manager, it's so small, I can't tell if he's on this meeting, but he and I are working on a draft prioritization policy that we will bring to the board next month. And I'm pleased to let the board know I have direct experience with this at my former cities, so I believe it'll be a fruitful discussion, and we will set up a prioritization methodology together. We'll definitely do that September, and I think that's what I'd like to let the chairman and the board know.
Okay, well, that's very good news. Thank you. I appreciate it. Armin, I think you wanted to say something?
Yes, I would like to know the status of the projects that are also in design or construction phase using Measure P funding.
Yes, and one of the things that is in the I call them the bylaws, the way the board was created, and we did talk about this last meeting. I'm sorry, I didn't catch the part, maybe in the minutes, but staff owes the board a quarterly update, and we will give a quarterly update. That would probably be in the October meeting because we're in our first quarter coming September. So July, August, September, we can report on quarter one to the board at the October meeting for all projects.
I have a quick question. Is it okay to ask?
Yes, I believe we lost Greg, but go ahead, Vanessa.
Oh, okay. Through the chairman, we lost him, huh? Okay. Yes.
I just have a quick question. I was wondering how has COVID affected finances with your public works, with our public works, and all the other staffing? Has it created a financial, shortfall as in regards to staffing? Has it affected financing in the department?
I'm sorry, Member Rochelle, could you say that again? I had a bad connection on my end, I think.
Okay. So I was wondering, has COVID affected staffing? Has it created any shortfalls as far as public works? Has it affected
Okay.
staff? And you know what I mean?
Yes, I appreciate the question. Thank you. It has not affected our staffing levels. We certainly have vacancies, but nothing atypical compared to a usual scenario. Overall, citywide, we have minimal exposure cases that we investigate. And the potential cases we handle in accordance with our city policies and go through and, if necessary, cordon off and decontaminate an area, follow up with staff, clean up areas. But they have been minimal and not an interruption to our ability to provide the services both to internal and external customers.
So we haven't suffered any, as far as being able to, any financial difficulties as far as staff, though. And I'm talking about layoffs and furloughs. This is what I'm saying.
Oh, well, that's more of a city manager and finance department. As for the finances, they're working on that daily, I know. Probably the biggest impact that the COVID-19 pandemic has had on public works is the fact that we basically have a whole new master job to do. We not only have all our public works typical things that we have to take care of in the public infrastructure and doing our projects and reviewing land development and permits, we have to set up all our facilities to allow our customers to come in safely. And that was a big part of our job over the past, from April to June. You remember we really opened up our facilities mid-June. It was getting anything from antibacterial gels to the plexiglass barriers, stanchions and decals, and setting up San Fernando Boulevard for a closure. It's a whole 33%, I think, bump in our workload on top of the workload that we already had. So I could say particularly, I'm extremely proud of the public works team. As first responders, we all really, I saw great operation under stress and ability to continue delivering all the services that are expected of us while dealing with protecting public health and safety and our employees in our buildings at the same time.
And if I may just quickly add on to that, and then we'll move on because I know this isn't an agendized item, but just going off of what Mr. Berkman just mentioned, citywide, there is a temporary hiring freeze. So that may address part of your question as well.
That's exactly what I was asking. I work for the county.
Hello, I'm back. I had some technical difficulties, so I missed a bit of that conversation, but I got the general impression. Does anyone else want to comment before we move on to our final item? All right. Well, we have the pending agenda items, which are project prioritization policy, which we will be hearing next month. Report on storm drains. I assume they work and we'll handle if we ever get any rain again. Okay. Update on sales tax, which I brought up and we'll be hearing about next month. And we just heard some. And then the city synchronization project effectiveness, which I guess was the report that we had, right? Yeah.
I would think so.
All right. Well, all that said and done, I guess we move to adjournment.
Mr. Chairman.
Someone's, yes.
Yeah, that's me, Ken. If I could make a suggestion, and Lisa, is this appropriate for me to suggest pending agenda items at this time?
Sure.
Okay, right. I don't know the urgency for the report on the storm drains, but Hoon and I were talking. We were thinking of bringing an update on the library project in October, and maybe replace that on the list for B, report on storm drains, and a follow-up in the what I believe is a combined November-December meeting. We could maybe, since we know the revenues are going to be reported by finance sometime October after they go to council, maybe bump the sales tax C to D, since D is off the list, and bring a presentation on public-private partnership, P3, at a future meeting. So I was thinking of having B and C be a library project update and then a P3 update, or I don't know what to call it, P3 presentation, I guess.
Okay, well, that sounds fine to me, and I don't know my colleagues here. Oh, yes, Walt?
Some part of a city park? No.
Okay, we can hear you now.
Okay, good. The storm basins, are they part of the city project or is that just county?
Are you talking about the debris basin cleanout, sir?
Yes.
Those are county operations.
Okay, Burbank doesn't have anything to do with that then, other than hope they work.
Yes, but and Lisa, I know it's not agendized, but just very briefly, the public works crews have already taken care of all of our storm drains and catch basins and our facilities in prep for the upcoming rainy season starting October.
Okay.
Thank you, sir.
Well, that sounds appropriate. The revisions that you're suggesting, Ken. I mean, those items have appeared, have been generated by staff. So it wasn't ours. Okay, well, I guess we've come to our close. The next scheduled meeting of the Infrastructure Oversight Board will be on September 24th at 6 p.m. And I assume it's not going to be in council chambers, but will be also, once again, remote. All right, well, I wish everyone good evening and be careful out there. And look forward to seeing you next month.
Thanks, everyone.